Hello, this is Dr. Nazare Magas talking to you again. Today it's going to be my second video, so I'm still very new at this, so don't expect me to be too put together because I'm doing something that is not what I normally do. I'm really not used to talking into a camera without any interaction. Even though I have been on TV many times, when that was happening, I was actually being asked questions by anchors or whoever was in the program. So it's a little different. I was used to looking into a camera and not looking at anybody. I know how to do that, but I don't quite know how to talk into a camera without some prompting. So I just want you to know that I imagine as I do more of these videos, I will get more comfortable and easier in doing this with you. So you are the first ones to be seeing me doing this. So you're new and I'm new to you too. Today I am going to be talking about a very important part of relating to others. And it is a concept of that comes from mentalizing psychology, which is the awareness that we have impact on others. So in mentalizing, we look at three factors. We look at imagining, as I was talking about in the last video, what is the psychology of the other person. So imagining why they may be doing something or not be doing something, saying something or not saying something, and going beyond our immediate experience of why somebody would do that. So not using ourselves as a model, but thinking of other factors that could make a person act in certain ways. So like I said the last time, it's really an act of imagination, of imagining why the person that we're relating to may be acting as they're acting, including psychological factors such as their history, their motivation, their state of mind in that moment, the context in which they're living, and looking at those factors to understand how they're behaving in that moment. So that's understanding of the reasons why another mind may be operating as they are. Today I'm going to be talking about another part, which is the part about how we impact others. So in the first part, we're looking at how their psychology is impacting what they're doing or not doing. That's what's called intrapsychic within them. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how we impact what they're doing or not doing. So now we have two factors going on. So in this factor, we're going to be looking at the awareness that not only does this person have their own history, their own motivations, their own ways of being, their own state of mind, separate from us, but now we're going to add to the mix that as we're interacting with this person, we too are impacting that moment. So this is actually an ability, the ability to consider impact on other, our impact on other, and it is an ability and a skill. Now, how do people come to have it or not have it? We tend to have this ability and this skill when we grow up in an environment where our caregivers have this ability. So when our caregivers have this ability, we ourselves learn to have it by the way they're relating to ourselves and to others. We get to have that model, and also by the comments that they make. So the way they relate to others shows us that they're thinking that they are themselves impacting that relationship. And of course, at times they will even make that comment. Like, I wonder if this person didn't come because I was too upset with them the last time. Or I wonder if this person didn't call me because I was so anxious the last time I talked to them. These are examples of considering that our state of mind and our way of being is impacting the other person. So I want to tell you today about this other way of considering relationships, which is how do we impact that person? And I want to also tell you that the absence of this way of thinking comes often from a very common way of understanding people, which is not realistic, but it is common, which is that we tend to think in terms of black and white. It's called black and white thinking. And when we're thinking in black and white terms, we're looking at things in a binary way, meaning yes or no, black or white. One of the things that happens when we have this way of understanding other people, particularly when we're in conflict, is we have the tendency to think that somebody's bad and somebody's good. So in that situation, we think that somebody is the perpetrator and somebody's the victim. Needless to say, none of us want to be the bad one, and none of us want to be the perpetrator. So we have an automatic tendency to, in this case of blame, think that the blame is on the other person. So one thing that I want to offer you today is to notice if this is happening to you, if you're thinking in black and white or blaming terms. And I want to begin to offer you the possibility that in interpersonal relationships, it's best to not consider blame. To drop the idea of blame and begin to introduce to your mind that there are many factors that go into any interaction, and that rather than blame is more how many factors go into it and how do we understand what was happening to each of the people in the party, rather than somebody's good and somebody's bad. So one of the things that I want you to begin to consider is not only what I was talking about last time, which is what is the psychology of this person, how is this person different from me, that we don't often think of. But now I want to add another layer, which is the layer of how are you impacting this other person? And might you be thinking in black and white terms, which again means that somebody's bad and somebody's good. And if you are thinking in those terms, to allow yourself to consider that maybe it's a little more complicated and that maybe nobody has to be bad, but that each person is contributing to the situation, and to begin to consider how do you contribute. Okay, so I want to give you an example of how this idea of awareness of impact on others could be so powerful and so important in human relationships. So today I had a situation with a patient of mine who had entered a conflict with somebody important to her, and she wasn't able to turn to this other person and ask her some questions about what was going on. And when I asked her why she hadn't been able to do it, I found out that it was because she didn't trust that this other person would tell the truth. She was afraid the other person would lie. Now, I happened to have the other person in the room with me, so I also asked this person why it was that she hadn't talked herself. And in that case, she expressed that the reason she hadn't talked herself is because she was afraid that her cousin would get upset. And when I asked her what would happen if her cousin would get upset, she expressed that she was afraid that she would shut her out or cut her off or disconnect from her. So then I turned back to my patient to point to her if she was aware of this. And she was aware that she has this tendency to do this, to cut people off or disconnect from them when she has a conflict. But she really was not at all aware that by treating people in general this way, her cousin had come to be afraid that this could happen to her. And she was therefore not aware that she was contributing to what she's fearful of, which is being lied to. She's expecting that people may not tell her the truth. She was expecting this cousin to not be honest with her. And in reality, my patient is correct in her idea that it is possible that she won't be told the truth. I will explain this further in other situations, but for now, I want to give you this example as a way of seeing that if my patient, who tends to cut people off frequently with various people, is not aware that that behavior of hers, which is protective to herself, would cause people to be afraid of telling her what they think or what's upsetting them, and they may lie to her, she may not be aware of how she may be contributing to people lying to her. So that's an example of how not being aware of the impact we're having on others could not make us aware that we are contributing to that problem. In this case, the problem being, I am not being told the truth, I am being lied to. And in the binary fact, we would look at it like the person is bad, the person is to blame. In this way of thinking is, the person is lying to me, maybe not telling me the truth, but now we're adding, what may I be doing or not doing that contributed to that? In this case, nobody's bad, nobody's good, is everybody's contributing to this situation where somebody is being lied to, which would be absolutely not a good thing, right? But if we understand that this person tends to get very upset and cut people off, now we understand, oh, it's a little more complicated. That's what I want to share with you, that things are much more complicated, and I want you to begin to consider how do you impact others. So that's it for today, and I will elaborate on these ideas more and also give you examples, which would make it more easy for you to understand, I think, what I'm talking about. Thank you very much for seeing this and watching me, and I will talk to you another day.